Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dig into a really short but super powerful fable, one of Aesop's. And it asks this huge question. What's actually more valuable? Is it that fleeting, flashy beauty, or is it that rugged, tough as nails endurance? So the whole thing kicks off with the swallow, right? She is basically the poster child for spring and warmth, and her whole deal is about how things look. Those bright and downy feathers she's so proud of. I mean, for her, looks are everything. And the crow's plain, practical feathers? Pfft, she thinks they're totally worthless. And then you get the crow's reply. And man, it is just devastatingly simple. He doesn't even bother arguing about beauty. Nope. He just flips the whole script and makes it about survival. His point? Real strength, true value. You don't see that when things are easy. You see it when things get tough. And that one line, that's what we're going to unpack today. All right, so let's dig into this ancient argument. I mean, to really get the principle here, you got to understand the characters first. The story is it's a perfect example of using something really simple to talk about a huge, complex idea. So the fable creates this amazing contrast, right? You've got the swallow. She's all about what's beautiful but temporary, and she completely depends on perfect weather. But the crow? Oh, he's the complete opposite. He's the stoic who's always there. He's not just some fair weather visitor. He's a permanent part of the scenery, literally built to last through anything. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit from the story itself to the big idea behind it. This whole feathers versus quills thing, it's not really about birds, is it? It's about two totally different ways of looking at life. And this just nails the central conflict. On one hand, you've got this fair weather aesthetic, stuff that looks amazing when the sun is shining and everything's perfect. And on the other hand, you have rugged endurance, the qualities that aren't flashy at all, but are literally designed to help you survive. It's basically decoration versus durability. And that brings us to the core problem the fable is pointing out, what we could call the vulnerability of the elegant. See, the key thing here is that so often the stuff we think is beautiful is also incredibly fragile. It needs everything to be just right. The moment things change, poof, it either breaks or just disappears. So yeah, this is where the story kind of holds up a mirror to all of us. I mean, think about your own life for a second. Your skills, the things you own, your priorities. Are you investing in bright feathers? Things that look great right now but are totally useless when a real crisis hits? It's a tough question to ask yourself. And the next question is just as piercing. Why is it that we so often mock the stiff quills? Things like hard work, discipline, that quiet resilience. We tend to see them as boring, maybe even unnecessary, right up until our personal winter arrives. And then, all of a sudden, those are the only things that actually matter. So when you boil it all down, the fable is really asking, what kind of person are you building? Are you building a swallow? Someone whose whole identity is based on running away from difficulty? Or are you building a crow? Someone who's creating a permanent home inside themselves, ready to take on whatever comes their way? Okay, so this is an old idea, but its real power is in how much it still applies to our lives right now. So let's look at the proof, right? Let's see how this whole thing plays out in the real world, in our own winters. Let's start with our personal lives. I'm talking about everything from your bank account to your mental toughness. The way we build our lifestyles, it's like the perfect modern-day showdown between the swallow and the crow. You can see this so clearly with money and mental health. Think about it. A lifestyle built on luxury, on what other people think of you, those are the bright feathers. And yeah, it looks amazing when times are good, but if you don't have the stiff quills, like an emergency fund or just some inner grit, the whole thing is just a house of cards. It'll collapse the second a personal winter hits, like losing a job or getting sick. And it's the exact same deal with our relationships. This whole idea of substance over style, it's what makes or breaks them. It applies directly to our friends, our social circles, the people we choose to have around us. I mean, we all know the fair weather friend, right? They're the human version of the swallow. They're awesome for parties, for hyping you up, for all the good times. But they just don't have that stiffness, that character, to actually be there for you when things get really bad. And the scary part is we often don't figure that out until it's too late, when we realize those bright, fluffy feathers offer zero warmth when the cold wind of a crisis starts to blow. And of course, you see this in the business world all the time. It's what separates the companies that last from the ones that just disappear. Doesn't matter if you're an employee or the CEO, this dynamic is everywhere. So a swallow company?
It's all about the flashy marketing, the cool office perks, that surface level shine. But it's totally neglecting the stiff quills, the boring but super important stuff like solid infrastructure or customer service that actually works. And sure, when the economy is booming, they can look like geniuses. But the second a recession hits, gone.
All right, so we're seeing this pattern everywhere, right? So what do we do about it? What's the path forward? Well, the cool thing about this fable is that it doesn't just point out the problem. It actually shows us a way to build real, lasting strength. If we go a little deeper, what we're really talking about is the difference between your personality and your character. Think of your personality as the swallow. It can be colorful, it changes, it adapts. But your character? That's the crow. It's your core. It's consistent. It's been hardened by challenges. And it's the one thing left standing when everything else is gone. I absolutely love this idea from the source material. It completely changes how you think about value. Beauty is a seasonal loan. How good is that? It's something you're given by your circumstances, and it can be taken away just as easily. But sturdiness, resilience, that's an earned asset. That's something you build yourself through the tough times, and nobody can take it away from you. So, what can we do? The fable kind of leaves us with 4 simple things to focus on if we want to build that crow-like resilience. First, build your life on endurance and inner strength. Second, don't get fooled by flashy, fleeting beauty. Third, learn to embrace the stiff quills of discipline. And finally, just be steady, be resilient, and be present for whatever comes. And that really brings us to the final thought, the one big question to leave you with. As you go about your day, just ask yourself this. Am I dressing for the eyes of the swallow or for the breath of the north wind? Are you making choices to impress people in the sunshine? Or are you building a life that can stand strong when that inevitable winter finally arrives? Because really, the answer to that question changes everything.